The stone manor in the Cotswolds stood still under a curtain of grey clouds, as though it too were mourning. Inside, the parlour was filled with silence, broken only by the occasional ticking of the antique wall clock and the rustle of legal papers. Beatrice Langford sat at the edge of a worn leather chair. Her black gloves were folded neatly in her lap. Across from her sat Lucas, her stepson, with a subtle smirk tugging at his lips. He hadn't offered her a single word of comfort since Jonathan passed. The family solicitor, Mr. Alden, adjusted his glasses and cleared his throat. "Let us begin," he said, laying out the documents. As stated in the last updated testament of Mr. Jonathan Langford, dated 7 months prior to his passing. Beatrice held her breath. Mr. Alden continued. "To my son, Lucas Langford, I leave the entirety of my estate, including Langford Manor, all business assets, and my properties in Oxfordshire and Kent." Lucas leaned back in his chair, smug. Beatrice felt her chest tighten, her fingers trembling. Her heart thudded with disbelief. Nothing? After 17 years of marriage? Mr. Alden paused, then picked up a single sealed envelope. "To my wife, Beatrice Langford," he said, passing the letter to her. "Jonathan requested this be given directly to you. It was not part of the official will." Beatrice took the envelope silently. It was handwritten, her name inked in Jonathan's familiar scrawl. Lucas glanced at it with mild amusement, then turned his attention to his phone. "I suppose you'll want to make arrangements to leave the house," Lucas said coolly. "Sooner rather than later." She didn't respond. Instead, Beatrice stood, the letter still unopened in her hand, and walked past the heavy oak doors of the parlour without another word. Outside, the wind tugged at her coat. Her eyes stung with more than just the cold. In the privacy of her bedroom, Beatrice tore open the envelope. Inside was a short note and a key. A brass one, old but polished. The note read, "My darling B. If you're reading this, it means I never found the courage to say everything aloud. But I've left you something. Not here, not in this house. Follow the key. It leads to a place in Kensington. I trust you'll understand everything soon. Forgive me. Yours always, J." Beatrice stared at the paper, her breath shallow. Jonathan had kept secrets. And Kensington was calling. The following morning, Beatrice found herself on the train bound for London. The rhythm of the rails beneath her was a steady contrast to the storm of thoughts swirling inside her mind. The key in her palm felt heavier than its weight suggested. The note mentioned Kensington, a world away from the rolling hills of the Cotswolds where she had spent most of her life. Beatrice had visited London many times, but Kensington held its own mysteries. With the letter folded in her coat pocket, she stepped out onto the busy streets. The familiar hum of the city buzzed around her, strangers weaving past in a blur of purpose and haste. Her first task was to find the address Jonathan had hinted at. There was no street or number in the note, only the key and a silent invitation. Beatrice made her way to a small cafe near High Street, Kensington. The barista recognized her immediately, greeting her with a nod. She ordered a coffee and quietly opened Jonathan's letter again, searching for a clue she might have missed. Her eyes caught a faint watermark on the back of the paper, a sketch of a small-town house with a distinctive red door. A flicker of hope lit inside her. She wandered along the streets until she found it, a narrow, elegant house with a red front door, tucked between two grander buildings. It looked unassuming, almost forgotten in the hustle of the city. She inserted the brass key into the lock. It turned smoothly. Inside, the air was thick with dust and silence. The house was empty, but not abandoned. On the mantelpiece lay a single envelope addressed to her. With trembling hands, Beatrice opened it. Inside was a series of documents, deeds to properties she had never heard of, a portfolio of investments, and a final letter from Jonathan. It read, "My dearest Beatrice, if you have found this place, then you have discovered the legacy I could not openly share. The estate left to Lucas is only a fragment of what I built. These holdings, carefully hidden, represent the true future I envisioned for us. I trusted you to carry this forward, to claim what is rightfully yours. Do not let bitterness consume you. Instead, use this gift to find your peace and strength. Forever yours, Jonathan. Beatrice sat down heavily, the weight of revelation settling on her shoulders. This was not just a letter, it was a new beginning. Beatrice returned to the Cotswolds with a restless mind and a secret heavy in her heart. The quiet manor seemed colder now, its walls echoing the absence of Jonathan. Yet within her, a spark of resolve had ignited. Lucas's behavior grew colder still. His visits became less frequent, and when they happened, his words were sharp, laced with thinly veiled threats. Beatrice heard whispers among the staff and neighbors, rumors of disputes, disagreements over the estate, and a simmering resentment that stretched beyond the manor's grounds. One evening, as twilight fell, Beatrice received a letter. The handwriting was unfamiliar, the message brief but chilling. Leave the past buried, or you will regret stirring shadows best left alone. Her fingers trembled as she folded the note. Who could want to frighten her? And what secrets was Jonathan truly hiding? Determined not to be cowed, Beatrice began to investigate quietly. She reviewed the documents Jonathan had left, tracking unfamiliar company names and properties. Each discovery painted a clearer picture of a man who had lived many lives, not all of them known to his family. Her journey into Jonathan's hidden past led her beyond the estate, into London's labyrinth of power and influence. Friends of Jonathan's past emerged, old associates, business rivals, and even a woman who claimed to have known him better than she did. Beatrice was no longer just a widow, she was a woman uncovering a tangled web of loyalty, betrayal, and secrets buried beneath polite society. Days turned into weeks, and Beatrice's investigation deepened. The quiet resolve she had fostered in the wake of Jonathan's death had grown into something fierce, unyielding. She refused to be sidelined or silenced, even as Lucas's coldness became a palpable barrier. Her next lead brought her to Gray's Inn, one of London's historic legal quarters. Here, nestled among cobblestone streets and centuries-old buildings, she was to meet someone who once worked closely with Jonathan. The meeting place was an unassuming bookshop, its windows fogged from the early autumn chill. Inside, the scent of aged paper mingled with the faint aroma of coffee. Beatrice scanned the shelves, her heart pounding as a man in his late 50s approached. "Miss Langford?" he asked with a cautious smile. "Yes," she replied, steadying her voice. "I'm Thomas Reed, Jonathan's solicitor for many years. He asked me to look after certain affairs, discreetly, should anything happen." Beatrice felt a shiver. This was the first official confirmation she had from anyone in Jonathan's inner circle. Thomas ushered her to a corner table. "There's much you don't know. Jonathan's estate is entangled in complications, old debts, covert investments, even legal battles. Your stepson's hostility is only part of a larger puzzle." The conversation was tense. Thomas explained that Jonathan had anticipated the possibility of disputes and had taken steps to protect Beatrice's interests, but the forces arrayed against her were formidable. As they spoke, Beatrice's phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "Stop digging or face the consequences." Her jaw clenched. Whoever was behind this wanted to intimidate her into giving up. But Beatrice was no longer the woman who quietly accepted fate. With Thomas's support, she resolved to confront Harrison directly. The next day, she traveled to Lucas's London residence. The encounter was fraught with sharp words and accusations, the tension simmering just beneath the surface. "Harrison," Beatrice said, voice steady but firm, "this war you're fighting is not just against me but against the memory of your father. I am here to honor that memory, not to steal from it." Lucas sneered, "You're a stranger who crept into his life too late. The fortune belongs to me." "Jonathan's wishes are clear," she replied, showing the letter and documents. "You may not like it, but the law is on my side." The confrontation ended without resolution, but Beatrice felt a newfound strength. She was ready to fight, not just for the fortune, but for her dignity and the truth hidden in Jonathan's legacy. The days that followed the confrontation were filled with quiet tension. Beatrice returned to the Cotswolds determined to uncover every hidden thread of Jonathan's life, while Lucas's cold stares haunted the halls. She pored over documents and letters late into the night, piecing together fragments of a story Jonathan had kept from everyone. One particular discovery startled her: a series of letters exchanged between Jonathan and a mysterious woman named Evelyn. Their correspondence spoke of a secret past, an unresolved chapter from Jonathan's youth that could change everything. Beatrice sought out Evelyn, tracing her to a quaint village near Bath. When they met, Evelyn was guarded but kind. She revealed that Jonathan had been engaged once, before the world knew him as the man who married Beatrice. Their love was passionate but ended abruptly, shrouded in circumstances neither fully understood. The revelation stirred emotions in Beatrice: betrayal, curiosity, and something softer, empathy for the man she thought she knew. Returning home, Beatrice felt the walls closing in as Harrison escalated his campaign to push her out. Legal notices arrived, demands for immediate possession of the estate. Yet each attack only strengthened her resolve. In a decisive move, Beatrice enlisted Thomas's help to initiate a formal review of Jonathan's will and estate. The legal battle ahead would be long and exhausting, but Beatrice was ready. In the quiet moments, she often thought of Jonathan, flawed, secretive, yet deeply human. And she vowed that whatever the outcome, she would emerge not as a victim, but as a woman who reclaimed her life and her truth. The legal battle stretched into months. The elegant halls of London's courts became Beatrice's new arena, where every hearing brought fresh challenges and unexpected allies. The atmosphere was thick with tension, the stakes growing higher with each passing day. Beatrice found strength in the quiet support of Thomas and a few trusted friends who believed in her cause. Their encouragement kept her spirit unbroken, even as Harrison's camp resorted to increasingly aggressive tactics. One morning, a breakthrough arrived. A long-lost ledger surfaced among Jonathan's belongings, revealing financial transactions that no one had anticipated. These documents proved beyond doubt that Jonathan had taken deliberate steps to secure Beatrice's future, leaving no room for dispute. The revelation shifted the momentum. Suddenly, Harrison's confident facade showed cracks. His attempts to intimidate turned desperate, and the court began to view his claims with growing skepticism. Outside the courtroom, Beatrice breathed in the crisp Surrey air, feeling the weight of months slowly lifting from her shoulders. She knew the fight was not over, but the tide was turning. At home, as autumn's golden light filtered through the windows, Beatrice allowed herself a rare moment of reflection. The journey had been painful, but it had also been one of rediscovery, of her resilience, her dignity, and her unwavering belief in justice. The memory of Jonathan, complicated and imperfect, no longer haunted her. Instead, it inspired her to forge a future defined not by loss, but by strength and hope. The court's final verdict came on a crisp morning, the kind that carries the promise of new beginnings. Beatrice sat quietly as the judge delivered his decision. The room was tense but filled with a sense of resolution. The judge ruled decisively in Beatrice's favor, affirming the validity of Jonathan's will and her rightful claim to the estate. Harrison's objections were dismissed, and he was ordered to cease his attempts to dispossess her. Relief washed over Beatrice like a gentle tide. The battle that had consumed so much of her life was finally drawing to a close. But more than the legal victory, she felt a deeper transformation within herself, a reclaiming of her identity and independence. Back at the Surrey estate, the autumn leaves danced in the breeze, reflecting the quiet peace that had settled. Beatrice began planning the future she had once feared would be impossible. She envisioned restoring the estate not just as a home, but as a place of refuge for others who had faced hardship. Lucas Whitmore remained distant, his bitterness palpable. Yet, Beatrice held no resentment. Instead, she focused on healing and growth, hers and that of the legacy Jonathan had entrusted to her. As evening fell, she stood on the terrace, the fading light painting the sky in hues of amber and rose. The journey had been arduous, marked by loss and betrayal, but now it was a new dawn, one where hope and strength would guide her path forward. In the weeks that followed the court's decision, Beatrice set about transforming her life with renewed purpose. The Surrey estate, once a symbol of loss and conflict, began to flourish under her care. She opened its doors to local artists and community groups, turning it into a sanctuary for creativity and healing. Her relationship with Lucas, though still distant, softened over time. They found moments of quiet understanding, recognizing the shared pain that had once divided them. Slowly, a fragile peace grew between them, built on mutual respect rather than resentment. Beatrice also honored Jonathan's memory in her own way, not by dwelling on what was lost, but by embracing the future he had hoped for her. She established a charitable foundation in his name, dedicated to supporting women who faced hardship and injustice. The legacy Jonathan left was not just one of wealth, but of resilience, kindness, and hope. And Beatrice embodied those values, becoming a beacon of strength for her community. As the seasons changed, so did Beatrice. From the depths of betrayal and despair, she rose with grace and determination. Her story was one of courage and renewal, a testament to the power of love and the unbreakable spirit of a woman who refused to be defeated. The sun set over Surrey, casting a golden glow across the estate. Beatrice stood by the window, looking out at the life she had rebuilt. In that quiet moment, she knew the future was hers to shape, bright, boundless, and full of promise.